The Epstein thing is so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and him saying, like, what do you care? Why does everybody care about Epstein? Like,
Crazy. That's Joe Rogan, who played a pivotal role in helping President Trump get elected president, is still very much not sold on how he and his administration has handled the Epstein scandal. I'm Mediaite founding editor Colby Hall, and Joe Rogan has doubled or even tripled down on massive criticism that he's held for not just President Trump, but Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel. And when he's actively mocking Trump, well, that's not good news for the Trump administration.
the Epstein stuff is so crazy because when Kash Patel was on here and he was like, there's nothing. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what to say. My thought was, and people are like, why didn't you push back more? My thought was like, I'm just going to put this out there and let the internet do its work because there's nothing I can. The guy's saying there's no tapes, there's no video. That doesn't make any sense. Everyone knows it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, right? And one of the more stunning things, Epstein files aside, is that the MAGA set and the independent media manosphere bro set, like Joe Rogan, they're not buying it.
He didn't know about the Michael Baden stuff, the autopsy stuff, where it showed that he had 3 broken bones in his neck, which never happens when you hang yourself. Even when you like leap from somewhere with a rope around your neck and it snaps your neck, you never have 3
and he's
broken
in a prison
bones.
cell. He's not launching himself off the first floor balcony.
Rogan loves a good conspiracy, especially those that seem fact-based, like evidence that it's impossible that Epstein actually killed himself, given the expert witness that he interviewed that said 3 bones were broken.
The whole thing was nuts. And then he's like, well, we have a film. We're going to release that film. And the film has a fucking minute missing from it.
Yeah.
Like, do you think we're babies? Like, what is this?
That's comedian Mike Baker, who was Rogan's guest earlier this week, and they systematically took apart all of the arguments that the Trump administration has put forth. Like, for example, the video they released that was supposed to exonerate this idea that Epstein actually did kill himself, it had some gaping holes in.
Also, you got people, including Dan Bongino, right, making bank for a couple of years talking about how awful it is, and we got to get this shit, and this is a huge conspiracy, and then you release a 2-page memo that says, there's nothing to see here.
Yeah, because you're walking by your bedroom window and you see a little laser,
red
laser moving across your chest.
Yeah.
Someone's going to get assassinated? I mean, sure, why not? I mean, it's crazy, but we're in a crazy time. Then they pivoted to news that Ghislaine Maxwell was being interviewed by Deputy AG Todd Blanche, which raised eyebrows.
As we speak, and I find this fascinating, is that the Assistant Attorney General, Todd Blanche, is down in Florida for an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. Right? And she's serving 20 years in a Florida prison for sex trafficking. Right?
To who, though?
What's that?
To who?
Well, he's down there to interview her.
But I'm saying she's sex trafficked to who?
It's a fair question. Who exactly were these victims being trafficked to? Then they made fun of and took shots at the media, who really refused to cover this, but are suddenly now super interested in it.
This is so fucking wild.
Yeah.
Just that alone is so wild that they would have the balls to post that. We need dedicated journalists, not just people asking questions, which is like, for sure, an attack on podcasts.
Is it an attack on podcasts? I mean, I guess from his perspective, sure. I think it's just an attack on bad outlets, which there are many. But then Mike Baker put out that, like, the reason why this is maybe being hidden is that it's not a Republican problem or a Democratic problem. Everyone's in there.
Nobody was pushing for this, right? Because you got people from all sides probably on whatever that list looks like, whatever that Epstein file looks like, whoever was involved. You got people from all sides of the spectrum here going on. And so everybody's worried. So it looked like, all right, there's kind of this bizarre bipartisan moment where we're not going to push for this, really. We're not going to make a big effort here. We're not sending anybody from DOJ. The Dems aren't, during the Biden administration, calling for the release of the files. Now, all of a sudden, they smell, blood in the water and a particular, political motivation here. So let's get these files out.
Yeah, get the files out. That'll end everything, right? I mean, if you're Trump or in his administration, this is the last thing you need. Joe Rogan, arguably the most influential podcaster out there, and his guest Mike Baker, just fanning the flames of this fire that they are desperate to go away. And then Mike Baker put this in a broader context, that these Epstein files have reached the highest echelon of American conspiracy theories.
This is going to be around like Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy. And
well, that's what's crazy. They did release more Martin Luther King documents, which is really crazy. Like, why are you holding secrets about the murder of one of the most beloved historical figures of all time from 1968?
Part of that is a family
request.
It? Yeah, part of that's a family request. The family has asked, in the past on a number of occasions, they really don't want some of this because some of it's salacious about Martin Luther King, which doesn't take away from everything that he did, right, as a leader of a cause and a movement. But some of it is,
extramarital affairs, and things along those lines.
There's been some push to be concerned about that. But yeah, now do the Epstein files.
Well, they'll do it in the same amount of time, 56 years from now.
Yeah.
Just like they did with him. It's 56 fucking years later they released this stuff.
And we're still not any closer to, I mean, again, I don't want to disappear down that rabbit hole, but we're still not any closer with Martin Luther King. I'm, again, not a conspiracy guy except today, apparently.
Then Rogan returned to how these super wealthy and powerful people are freaks
around here. But going back to the Epstein thing, I don't understand how they handled this so poorly, right? For Pam Bondi to come out and talk about the files and oh my God, and then like within a blink of an eye, they come out with this bullshit Sunday night memo saying there's nothing to see.
How could there's just a lack of coordination?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
That makes sense.
I think it's a messaging problem is always kind of a key element of the Trump administration, whether it's this one or not. And now look, that's not I'm not knocking a lot of the policies. I like a lot of the policies that come out of this administration. This one in the previous, the first administration. But I'm just saying, a hallmark of a Trump administration is the ability to have a self-inflicted wound, shoot yourself in the foot because of messaging usually.
Then they returned to the Epstein files and flatly said they couldn't understand how this was handled so poorly.
And I don't see how they walk this back. They're trying to, I think, with this interview with Ghislaine Maxwell to say, look, we're trying, we're talking to her,
But how does Pam Bondi say we have thousands of hours of footage? And then Patel says we don't have anything that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And then Tim Dillon said he has lunch with J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance says that 10,000 hours is commercial pornography.
I mean, when you're citing Vice President J.D. Vance and his past comments on how there's no there, when there apparently is there, it's not a good look for this administration. Then Rogan asked Baker what he thought this is all about. And of course, it turned to a blackmailing intel op.
What do you think that was all about? Who do you think was involved in that? Do you think it was the Mossad? Do you think it was some rogue intelligence agency in America? Was it a coordinated effort?
And Baker delivered the theory that I gather most Rogan people are wanting to hear and now believe and is becoming canon that, this is an intel operation, although there isn't really that much evidence other than sort of Occam's razor. That's the most reasonable thing for keeping them down, but candidly, we don't really know. But Baker explained it.
I know there's a lot of talk about, did he have some sort of intel connection, right?
Right.
That from my perspective, it's complete speculation. But I will say, like from an operational perspective, I have no idea. Was it Mossad? Was it anybody? Who knows?
Right.
But from an operational perspective, if you see a guy like this who's super connected and all the way back to 2008 was like his first trial, right? So he's had a long history of these problems. But if you know that he's kind of engaged in a variety of things. As an example, if I'm Chinese intel, right, and I just read the goddamn entertainment news, and there's these rumors and allegations of high-level people flying off to his island, I'm going to think that's interesting because potentially, if I could get an accessed source there, if I can get somebody right inside that operation, whether it's Ghislaine Maxwell or whether it's Epstein himself, whether it's somebody who's just on the outskirts of it. Maybe I'll start picking up some pretty interesting leverageable information on people that maybe I want to influence. Right?
And it's so funny to me that it's always comes down to like carnal needs and carnal desires. Yeah. It's always sex. Yeah. Because these guys, when you get to like this Bill Gates level and Bill Clinton level, you can't just go pick up gals at the bar.
Yeah.
You know
it's
what
a little
I mean?
tough. Yeah.
So if you're a super famous super freak, and, you like chasing skirts, but, you can't do it. Like, what do you do?
Super famous super freaks. Yeah. I mean, as a super famous super freak, I get it. I have the same problems myself. Not really. Joe Rogan then took us back to the mysterious Epstein's island.
If you thought about this island, if you're bringing award-winning scientists, like famous people, politicians, world leaders, all to one place, you're basically throwing as much shit against the wall as you can.
Yeah.
And then you have all this stuff on all these different people, and they know it. And so then you just kind of like, wasn't there like some CEO that had to step down because he wound up giving Epstein, it was found out that he gave Epstein like $150 million, that they couldn't explain why?
Again, it is weird that we really don't know how or why this former high school math teacher turned billionaire investor received so much money from really smart, super rich people. It's a good question.
But we don't know because we don't know who the fuck's in these files. Right. So,
or if the files even exist.
If the files even exist. And apparently, there's nothing in there according to Pam Bondi.
And Cash Patel. The whole thing's nuts.
Yeah.
The whole thing is nuts, and not just the Epstein files, but the fact that Rogan, of all people, is openly ridiculing Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, and even President Trump. Stunning.
And then, have Bongino and Cash Patel saying he definitely killed himself. Like, what?
Yeah.
What? Okay, this just, the level of convenience. It's so convenient that the guards were asleep, so convenient that the cameras didn't work. So convenient that years later you have a recording of the outside of the cell, but a minute is missing from it.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes?
Yeah, they found out it was like almost 3 minutes was missing.
Yeah, it's nearly 3 minutes that are missing. And, it just goes to show that ever since Bongino and Patel said that there was nothing out there, and they released this memo, said that the case was closed, that's only made it a bigger story and raised more questions that Joe Rogan is delighted to talk about because it's precisely the sort of thing that he's interested in, especially his listeners. And, to put it in broader context, he said that this is something that his viewers and a lot of like MAGA, even QAnon conspiracy theorists have believed to be like something that they want to find out about. And they even said it's a line in the sand that you can't cross. This feels like and just looks like that one of those handful of conspiracies, again, you go to JFK or whomever, that's just going to hang around.
This is a line in the sand.
Yeah.
This one's a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Because this is one where there's a lot of stuff about, when we thought Trump was going to come in and a lot of things are going to be resolved.
Yeah.
We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to figure everything out. And when you have this one hardcore line in the sand that everybody had been talking about forever, and then they're trying to gaslight you on that.
Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, right? And I have no idea what really is in the Epstein files, Trump's involvement, Bill Clinton's involvement, any of this. What's fascinating to me from a political media perspective is that a lot of the voices that were the biggest supporters, the biggest surrogates, the biggest supporters of President Trump, and had been led to believe that there was this conspiracy with the deep state and that Trump was going to clean house. Well, guess what? Once you get into office in your second term, you become the man. You become the deep state. And those people who won't take no for an answer are not taking no for an answer. And so every time they are being told that there's no there, they see it as a cover-up. And as a result, this is the first time that Trump is taking serious flack from the right. And Rogan's not really conservative. He's been pro-Trump. But the fact that he's going hard on this is the last thing the Trump administration needs. I'm popping popcorn because I don't think this story is going away anytime soon. Again, I'm Mediaite founding editor Colby Hall. Please click the like and subscribe button for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.